Studies show that 100% of everybody in the world wants to curl up indoors and do nothing because it's so darn cold out there. That's why many people are turning to Bombas, whose pillowy plush slippers and warm merino wool socks have been said to be the most comfortable in the history of feet. Bombas products have been found to boost coziness by up to 1,000,000%. Okay, enough fake statistics, but could Bombas socks and slippers really be the cure? Go to bombas.com/audio and use code AUDIO for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com and use code AUDIO.
You know that wellness goal you set at the start of the year? It's not too late to stick with it and make your future self proud, especially with the all-in-one nutrition shake from Kachava. With 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, adaptogens, and more. No fillers, no nonsense, just the highest quality ingredients. Stick with your wellness goals. Go to Kachava.com and use code NEWS for 15% off. That's KACHAVA.com, code NEWS.
Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Welcome back, Browns fans. Another episode, Dogs Podcast, Josh All. It's time for part 2 of this conversation with Barry Shuck. We're going to break down the defensive players that Barry charted and scouted down at the Senior Bowl in Mobile. And we're also going to briefly touch on quarterback prospects in the mid rounds. Not that we're advocating for the Browns to draft anybody this year or anything like that, but just to get some information out there on these prospects who will inevitably, there we go, good job, Josh, be talked about during the process. So that'll be happening. Plus, Barry gives us his idiom. He's famous for those on these episodes. And I get his opinion on Todd Monken. You don't want to miss that because he's got some insight. He did a deep dive on Todd Monken, and some of the information he came away with is very encouraging for especially somebody like me. And I know there's other Browns fans out there like me who were not thrilled with the hire when it first came out, but I am definitely warming up to the idea of having Todd Monken come in here and at the very least be able to do something special with the offense over the next couple of years. So stay tuned for that conversation. Again, jointhedogs.com real quick if you guys want to be part of the conversation in the Discord. Hang out with everybody in the Dog Pack community. It's a great place to be. Jointhedogs.com. Let's get over to the rest of this conversation with Barry Shuck. Okay, so that's pretty much the offensive positions that we were going to talk about for the Browns at the Senior Bowl. Let's shift over to defense, and we'll just start in the trenches. Why don't you said the defensive line was superior this year. Like it was a great crop of guys on the defensive line at the Senior Bowl. Who do you want to kick things off with?
Let's start with defensive tackle. Now, I really didn't focus that much on defensive tackle because I really think the Browns are good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with Mike Hall. He keeps getting hurt and not playing. But if he can just stay healthy, I think we're real good. Shelby Harris, Graham Mason, I think we're good there. But there was a guy that stood out. Caleb Banks from Florida, all these Florida guys. This guy is a huge man, 6'6", 330 pounds. And he just kept dominating in the one-on-ones. I mean, nobody could do anything with him. All they could do was just he was definitely going to bull rush everybody. He wasn't going to get around anybody. He didn't have any swim moves or that great first step. How are you going to move this guy? I don't know. Nobody seemed to have an answer of how to shove him out of the way. I think third round. So if the Browns are looking to provide somebody there, and maybe they're going to be kind of tired of Shelby Harris. I don't know. Maybe they're going to be tired of Mike Hall, or maybe they got to have rotational people anyway. So why not have 4 guys at defensive tackle? His sure size just jumps off at you immediately. He has that frame that offensive lineman just can't move. And when he decides to anchor down and hold his ground, I know the running back's coming right in that hole, but guess what? The running back's going to have to pick a different hole. He does. Yeah, he does. He does surprisingly have a first step quickness. And you wouldn't think that from a man his size, but he fires off the ball with explosiveness. And a lot of these offensive linemen, Banks will have 30, 40 pounds on him. So I just think that he'd be a great guy up the middle. He lined up anywhere from nose tackle to defensive tackle to wide nine. And during the Senior Bowl, he's got heavy hands that jolt the offensive lineman when his timing is right. And he can actually stun blockers with his initial punch and create that separation before they can even try to start leverage on him.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he's gonna make somebody's defensive line much improved.
Yeah. Third round, I think he came in as a fourth rounder. He may even sneak into the bottom of the second round.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing here, looking at just some projections, is I think he might, at least he's currently being projected to go a little bit higher. And I'm sure the Senior Bowl didn't do anything to hurt that.
No, he just dominated. He was just too big.
Okay, awesome. So who do you have after Caleb Banks?
The best defensive line, Zion Young was one, but my favorite was T.J. Parker of Clemson. Not a huge guy, but he's extremely quick. 6'4", 263 pounds, runs a 4.65. When the Browns are picking at pick 24, if this guy is available, they should run to the podium. If they take an offensive lineman at pick 6, I know they're looking for a receiver. They can take a receiver like Malachi Fields in the second round. This guy is just absolutely, Parker is absolutely going to be a great football player at the next level. He weaponizes his hands. He got violent striking. He active counters, and nobody knew how to handle him. Ball stripping ability is elite. It's not coincidental. I saw him punch out 2 balls just in one practice. He had 6 forced fumbles last year, and he just knows how to calculate that. Very long arms, which comes in place when he's rushing. He can absolutely devastate tackles when he times it. Right. He sets firm. He's got immovable edges against the run by using his length and his upper body strength to anchor, maybe to control a little bit, and then discard his blockers when he sees the ball carry and is ready to strike and make the tackle. I saw him that he could read the backfield when the play is developing. I thought that was unusual for a defensive end. I'd call him more of an edge rusher than a defensive end. He's not a big bodied guy, but he's just got speed. But he shows legitimate flexibility. And they had him at linebacker one day. And I can see that too. He was actually pretty decent coverage. But he competes with a visible edge and intensity when challenged.
I love everything you're telling me about this kid. I can tell you, man, there's a lot of Browns fans that are going to feel like they got kicked square between the legs if they go up there at 24 and take a defensive player in the first round with all the needs on offense. But I guess this speaks to the best player available mentality. Like, if he's on the board, we got to have him. We can't just let him go somewhere else.
Well, look at the defensive ends that we got. Of course, we got Myles Garrett on one side, right?
Yep.
On the other side, we got a combination. Isaiah McGuire. They signed Alex Wright to a long extension, which I don't understand. He's just an average player, if you ask me. Sam Kamara comes and goes. And then we got Cameron Thomas, which is, just a developmental guy who's just in the rotation. He goes in to give somebody a breather. What if we put a guy over there that knew how to get to the quarterback? I mean,
especially with
Andrew Berry. Andrew Berry has tried to solve that for years. Za'Darius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney. He has tried to bring in guys to be that other bookend pass rusher, and nobody has fulfilled that. Well, this guy can do it. What if we had Garrett and a guy like Parker just converging every down on passing downs? That'd be a nightmare. And then with the defensive tackles that we got, which are very good and are core, and they stop the run up the gut, that defensive line is going to be nasty.
It's definitely an intriguing thought for sure. We got Mason Graham at 5 last year, and then with Malik Collins and the way he played this year. And yeah, that defensive line could definitely be nasty with a guy like TJ Parker opposite of Myles Garrett. Okay.
Yeah, Parker's very, very well-spoken, good interview, to the point. I think he'd be a great player.
Awesome. So who's the next guy on the defensive line that you want to bring up?
I didn't speak to him, but I did some notes on him. Romello Height from Texas Tech. He's a smaller guy, 6'2", 234, but he runs a 4.7. He had 10 sacks last year at Texas Tech. Texas Tech's had a lot of defenders in the Senior Bowl, and he came front and center. He came from Georgia. His first step just explodes off the snap. Absolutely. He gave offensive linemen problems with that first step all week. He immediately threatens the outside shoulder of offensive tackles before they can really even establish any sort of kind of kick slide rhythm or base to prepare for him. A lot of hand movement, a lot of hand spins and placement. His ghost move is absolutely legitimate. He dips his shoulder, he flattens around the corner while he protects himself from getting knocked off his rush lane by tackles who are a little bit on the grabby side for speed rushers like he is. And his pursuit motor just runs and runs and runs. Okay.
Sounds like another good name. Now, where would he be going projected in the draft?
4th round.
Okay. Well, it's good to get these names in various rounds and everything, so we kind of have some players to watch and look for during the draft weekend. So after Height, who would be the next guy?
My final defensive edge rusher is L.T. Overton from Alabama. 6'3", 278 pounds. Had a great week. All 3 practices were good. I would say he would possess some rare physical dimensions. He's got a chiseled frame that maintains the lateral agility, and it gives him positional versatility that a lot of defensive coordinators are going to dream about as far as inserting him into the rotation. Excellent run stopping ability from the outside. A lot of times edge rushers are just pass rushers, and the run stoppage is not really a focus, but this guy can stop the run as well. He's got anchor strength that will set up a violent edge, which sometimes will force running backs to redirect, and try to pick a different lane. This guy's change direction. It's got fluidity for his size, great burst. And I noticed in pursuit, when the play would go the other way, he would take advantageous angles in pursuit.
Okay. This guy, from what I'm seeing here too on my end, the versatility between being a defensive end or an edge rusher and an interior defensive lineman, like being able to move him across the formation. You're right. That's very enticing.
Yeah, they didn't move him to defensive tackle all week, but I understand at Alabama he plays some defensive tackle.
I mean, that's always nice to have a guy that can bounce around like that, and you're not really sure which lineman's going to be accounting for him because he could be in a different spot any given play. I like that. This episode is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Browns fans, I know I can't be the only one. Have you ever searched something random like, I don't know, how to make French toast, and suddenly you're getting ads for all kinds of different recipes? Yeah, me too. It's a bit scary how much the internet seems to know about me these days. Thankfully, today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, can help us out with that. A VPN is a virtual private network which allows me to mask my real IP address. It's like putting a guardian cap on my online data, essentially meaning that my activity online is safe and no longer being tracked. Ever wonder just how much of your personal identity is floating around online? Every click, every scroll, every late night mock draft that you do, all of it can be logged, tracked, and sold. With Surfshark, all that data stays yours. When I'm connected, Surfshark encrypts everything I do online, so even my internet provider or nosy advertisers can't see what I'm up to. It's like finally being able to shut the blinds on your digital life, total privacy, total control, and honestly, it's a relief knowing I can browse freely without constantly worrying who's watching. And this is a big one for me. Surfshark does not keep logs, like at all. That means even if someone wanted to see what I've been up to online, there's literally nothing to show them. Most people don't realize this, but some VPNs do keep records of your activity, which kind of defeats the point of privacy, right? Surfshark's strict no logs policy means they don't monitor, track, or store any of your browsing data. It's like wiping your digital footprints clean the second you take a step. I find that so reassuring knowing that what I do online stays my business and no one else's. And Surfshark has other great products like their antivirus add-on. We tend to think viruses are a laptop problem, but they can hit phones, tablets, anything really. That's why Surfshark Antivirus is such a smart add-on. It's built right into the app and runs quietly in the background, protecting against malware, trojans, and all that nasty stuff that can sneak in from downloads or dodgy sites. I love that I don't need a separate antivirus subscription. Surfshark just handles it. It's one less thing to worry about and one more reason I feel properly covered online. So start protecting your online identity today with Surfshark. You can try it right now with a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to surfshark.com/dogs, DAWGS, or use code DOGS at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. Link and code are in the description. Surfshark.com/dogs, code DOGS. Okay, so that wraps up defensive line for you. Why don't we move a little further back in the formation on defense and talk about the linebackers that you saw?
Yeah, Gabe Jacobs from Illinois, 6'3", 260. He runs a 4.8. Great kid, super athletic. He is a 2-time high school wrestling champion.
Okay.
And it absolutely shows. It shows just in his hand placement and his arm length and how he handles an offensive lineman or how he handles a tight end. He's just got devastating hand placement, and he knows how to use his leverage. He's got great speed. He's got natural power and a relentless motor. I think he has a little scheme flexibility that would allow him to rush standing up or as a down lineman, to rush the passer. He did rush the passer quite a bit at the Senior Bowl. What I've seen about his stats and some of his games that he played in his senior year, he's a big game performer. He shows up. He gets elevated when he's playing against a harder competition. He had 5.5 sacks last year, 9.5 tackles for loss. But he's got tremendous physical upside that I think it might be a little bit untapped.
That's definitely interesting. He sounds more like, he's kind of like an outside linebacker type.
Yeah, that you can blitz a lot.
Mm-hmm. No, that sounds great. The Browns could definitely use that. Anything else about Jacobs?
No, now the guy that I would absolutely draft no matter what.
Okay.
Second round. I'm sorry. It's second round. Jacob Rodriguez, Texas Tech. 6'1", 233, runs a 4.7. I love this guy. He can date any one of my daughters. I got 4 daughters. 3 of them married. He can just pick which one, and he can date them. You know,
I'm sure their husbands love that.
you know, they'll work all that out. I just want him as my son-in-law. He was a former high school quarterback. This guy is everywhere. This guy, I think he had like 128 tackles, somewhere in that neighborhood, in his senior year, and he had 120 something the year before. So 2 years, he was in that zone right there. If you pair him with Carson Schlesinger, it's going to be lights out. This guy makes up his mind on a run play. He decides what gap to go through, and he goes for it. There's no hesitation. He immediately knows that it's a running play. He immediately knows which gap he's going to go through. Phenomenal kid. Good interview, well-spoken. He shows legitimate sideline-to-sideline pursuit. Even though the play is going to the exact opposite side, he's still over there trying to get in on the tackle. Schlesinger does that. Schlesinger is just, and Schlesinger will trail and be standing by the pile and not make the tackle. That's the kind of pursuit that he has. He has the range to track down outside runs and cover backs in the flats effectively. Good coverage skills. Like I said, Josh, he does diagnose running plays very quickly. He shoots those gaps with conviction. He rarely gets caught flat-footed, and he's got violent hands at the point of attack. I think he's going to be a tremendous blitz guy, and his ball production just jumps off the snap. He had 6 or 8, I'm not sure which one, forced fumbles this year. He had 2 at the Senior Bowl. When a guy is running, this is just a skill he's got. He knows how to punch at the ball, and he knows that the angle of it, he brings his fist up. He doesn't bring it from the bottom side. He brings it from the top, and then he comes down in almost like a crane-like system that he's got, and there goes the ball. He just has that ability, and he's known for that. He's got a bunch of interceptions in college as well. I talked to 2 of his teammates in college. He said, this guy's a leader. This guy is the green dot.
You're killing me. You're killing me with these defensive guys, because I have been so hell-bent on don't draft defensive players, Andrew Barry. Get me offensive guys because the offense sucks. But then you start listing off these defensive guys that are going to be available when we're picking, and it's like, well, shoot, they could be, stalwarts of this team for years to come. Are we really going to pass on that to take a swing on a guy that maybe we shouldn't, I guess, is the fear by doing it my way.
Here would be my plan. If I was the DC for the Browns, you got Carson Schlesinger, I would draft Jacob Rodriguez, and then I would re-sign Joe Schubert. That's my linebacker crew. Yeah, that's my linebacker crew right there. All of them are going to have 150 tackles.
That's true, man. That is true. Well, I mean, and that's a position where, if JOK is able to come back, which I don't anticipate. I think that's probably, wishful thinking. I would love for it. Obviously, it'd be wonderful, but I don't want to get my hopes up with the neck injury. Those are they're scary, and you don't want to mess with them, but we'll see how that goes. All right, so that's D-line. You got me a couple linebackers. Now the defensive backfield. You've got a couple names there, so let's go through those.
Yeah, I did interview one safety. I don't know why I did, but he just showed up where the Browns are going to pick in the 3rd round. Jalen Kilgore,
yeah,
of South Carolina, 6'1", 211. Runs a 4.48. I think he'll be a 4th round pick. I think the Browns are good with safeties. I really do. With Grant Delpit, with Ronnie Hickman. And then we've got that younger guy, Donovan McMillan, who was an undrafted free agent out of Pitt last year. Mm-hmm. I like that kid. I think he's going to be the next Ronnie Hickman type that's going to come from undrafted land and develop into a guy. He's a guru on special teams. And as the season progressed, he got more and more defensive snaps. So I think we're really good at safety. But I did make a couple of notes on some safeties. This is a physical enforcer. What I did is I looked at safeties who have high tackles and have low missed tackles. Because me personally, I wouldn't draft a guy that can't tackle.
No.
It's just like Sheldon Redwine back in the day. They said he couldn't tackle in college and needs to work on that. No, he didn't work on it. He just ended up in the UFL. That's what happened. This is a devastating hitter. I think he plays with controlled violence when triggering against the run, and he does arrive at the ball carrier with some bad intentions and rarely misses the target. He's a former wide receiver, but he is an elite run defender. He's going to be 4th round, and if they want to make a rotation, last year we used a lot of 4-2-5, and a lot of times the 2 linebacker, one of them would be a safety. So then you've got really 6 defensive backs on the field. 3 of them could be safeties. I think Kilgore would fit in right with that.
Yeah, I did a way too early, at least for my process, mock draft a few weeks ago. And Jalen Kilgore was actually a guy I took in that. And primarily what I liked reading about him was that it says he's taken reps and he's got experience playing boundary cornerback, nickel box safety, and field safety. So he's got versatility across the defensive backfield formation, which I think would be very helpful for the Browns, where we've got kind of some of those stalwart starter guys, like you mentioned, at the safety position and at cornerback, but you can never have enough of these guys. They get hurt and they'll miss a game here and there, and you need somebody to come fill in, or they'll go out for a concussion evaluation like we see so often anymore. You got to have somebody who can step in and fill those roles, and I think a guy like Kilgore would probably be pretty good for that.
Yeah, absolutely right. You're right on all those counts.
Okay, so then that was the only safety. Now let's talk about the cornerbacks that you highlighted here for the Browns.
Okay, the 2. One of them from Ohio State, Davison, another Nigerian name.
Igbinosun.
6'2", 192, runs a 4.34. I couldn't run a 4.34 if a canine was chasing me.
Nope, you'd be done.
Yeah, I'd be done. I'd be somebody's lunch. Elite long speed. He's just an absolute blazer. He's kind of got a rangy build, and his arms are a little bit longer than you would think, but he's got fluid hip flip and transition, and he's able to stay in phase when matching a receiver or staying close or shadowing receivers. He's going downfield. He showed great awareness in zone drops. I think he got proper depth when he was in coverage. Physical jamming technique of receivers right off the line, and that's part of his play. He's not a buffer guy. He's going to jam the guy at the line, and just a strong tackler. Takes good angles and run support. I think he limits his receiver after the catch point. Strong tackler.
It's so funny because obviously he's an Ohio State Buckeye. I'm an Ohio State Buckeye. Sometimes we get dinged on this show. They're like, oh, you guys are just Buckeye homers. You want everybody who played for Ohio State. Yeah. I just remember 2024, and I looked it up here, 16 penalties. I felt like there was never a game I was not bitching and moaning to people around me, like, get Igbinosun off the field. I can't stand it. He gets flagged for everything. So that's I kind of have some priors on him about that. Did he show any of that down there at the Senior Bowl? Like the, propensity to get flagged?
He's very handsy. He's very handsy. And they do have referees when they're doing not the 7-on-7s, but when they do the 11-on-11s, they do have referees out there. I think they're like in training during the week. Now, I don't know about the game itself, but I remember that female referee named Sarah with the long blonde hair. Back in her first year, she was at the Senior Bowl all week. Then she was one of the linesmen, which she's a linesman now. She was one of the linesmen at the Senior Bowl. That was her first professional game, was at the Senior Bowl, but she was out there every week, and they have instructors saying, do this, do this. He got flagged several times. I don't know how to stop a guy from that. I really don't. You got to be able to place your hand on it without turning your fingers and grabbing. And he's also famous about taking an arm and bringing it across a receiver's arm and making basically the receiver one-handed.
Yeah.
That's a technique.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, just like I said, just because I complained about him a lot during that season with the Buckeyes doesn't mean I wouldn't be interested to see what he could do in the pros for the Browns. You have, how many more corners do you have?
I have one.
One more. Okay, who is it?
Yeah. And understand this. I know we only have 1 second round pick, and I could choose all kind of guys. Malachi Fields, Rodriguez, the linebacker. But this guy right here, I love. I would take him in 5 seconds. He's going to be there when the Browns pick in our second round pick. His name is Chris Johnson. He's from San Diego State. He's 6 foot, 190 pounds, runs a 4.55. So he's not a speed demon. This guy covered everything. Everything. And the one-on-ones, he frustrated every receiver. He knows how to shadow. He is not fooled by head bobs or shoulder dips or hip waggles. Dude, I tell you what, I know we're good at receiver. If we can get MJ Emerson back, and then we've got Tyson Campbell, and we've got Denzel, I got that. Then we got Harden, who plays a lot of cornerback too. I got that. We got 4 guys, okay? This would be the MJ Emerson pick. But Emerson came in. We had Greg Newsome already on the outside, and Emerson by mid-season had already taken his job and forced Newsome to the slot. This would be our other outside guy. He would be our other outside guy week 1.
Wow. Yeah.
He's got
from what I'm reading here,
he's got exceptional zone coverage awareness. He's a bait guy. I haven't seen a bait guy since Deion Sanders. He'll play off a guy, and you think that he's lost with him. He's got him in his peripheral, and once the pass is in the air, he's on it. I can't tell you how many interceptions or batted balls I saw from him during the week. The one-on-ones, he just dominated. Every time a receiver got up, like I said, they've got an odd number. It was almost like that receiver wanted to say, "Hey man, my leg is hurting. Why don't you take this one?" I
don't want to go against this guy.
Outstanding anticipation. It was amazing how good Johnson was on that. He's got good reaction time, which allows him to smother short, and he just blankets the guy and shadows the guy. I know he played some special teams. I don't think he'll end up on special teams. I think he'd be week 1 starter. He's got versatile technique, control, and I didn't see this particularly, but I noticed in his college notes that he can do press man, he can do off coverage, he can do cover 3 zone, he can do cover 2 responsibilities, and that's across all the alignments.
You're selling me on these freaking defensive guys early in the draft, Barry, and I was hell-bent against it. But I keep telling people too, I should remind everybody, it really matters what we do in free agency. Because if we address the offensive line heavily in free agency, and we're coming into the draft, it's like, well, we've already got 3 or 4 starters locked in from free agency and stuff, then we don't need to focus as heavily on that in the draft and force anybody into any of these spots. So if they end up going with a defensive guy in the second round, a guy like Chris Johnson, I mean, we say all the time, you can never have enough corners, good cornerbacks, defensive backs on your team because, again, they get hurt. Or Denzel Ward is one of the best in the league, but he's not going to be here forever. You know, by the time a guy like Chris Johnson would be through his rookie deal or closing in on the end of that rookie deal, you'd be looking to extend him big time because Denzel's probably done.
Yeah, and Denzel gets hurt a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in and out quite a bit.
Yeah, he's in and out. And then and then look at Emerson. You know, Emerson got hurt with a non-contact injury. You just never know.
No, you don't. And you could definitely sell me on an elite prospect type of ceiling with a guy like Chris Johnson at cornerback. I do like that. This episode is partnered with Kalshi. Browns fans, are you ready to put your money where your predictions are? With Kalshi, America's #1 regulated prediction market, you can legally trade on events that actually matter to you. And the best part is you don't need to predict specific stat lines and compile a 7-leg parlay just to win big. With Kalshi, the objective is either yes or no. Will Shedeur Sanders be the Browns' Week 1 starting quarterback? Will the Seattle Seahawks win the Super Bowl? Will Fernando Mendoza be the first overall pick in the NFL draft? And in other sports, will the Cavs make the NBA playoffs? You can put your money on these predictions and more with Kalshi. If you want to try it out, Kalshi is giving $10 to anyone who signs up at kalshi.com/dogs and trades $100. Get away from disadvantageous sports books and dive into real-world outcomes with real-time odds and real payouts. Head over to Kalshi, KALSHI.com/dogs, DAWGS, or just click the link in the description to get $10 when you trade $100 with Kalshi. Because why shouldn't you get paid for being right?
If you're the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, you know having a trusted partner makes all the difference. That's why, hands down, you count on Grainger for auto reordering. With on-time restocks, your team will have the cut-resistant gloves they need at the start of their shift. And you can end your day knowing they've got safety well in hand. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Yeah, and if the Browns had 5 second-round picks, I could fill all 5 of them.
Yes,
fact,
well, I mean, you've got them here. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I filled all 5 of them today.
So what you're saying is trade back, collect seconds, and load
a bunch
up.
Of, yeah, load up. Great guys. These are kids that probably, when it's all said and done 5, 6, 7 years ago, you could redo the draft and these guys would be in the first round. But for now, they're going to be sitting there in the second round when the Browns pick.
Well, it sounds like there's a good opportunity for the Browns to at least whatever they decide to do with these picks, especially these early ones, there's going to be some players that if they hit it right, could be another draft like last year where we saw so many immediate impact players. It was fantastic, especially after several years of not getting that type of production from the draft.
Right.
To do it 2 years in a row would be great.
Yeah, we hit on our second rounders last year, that's for sure.
Nailed them. Yep.
Nailed them.
And not to mention that early third, because you talked about Harold Fannin Jr. from the Senior Bowl last year, and oh man, could not be happier with how that season went for him.
Yeah, great pass rusher. And really the only quarterback that I really spent any time with was Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU. He ended up being the game's MVP. Had a great week. He was really the only name guy. He's 6'1", 202. He's doesn't have a big frame at all. That kind of surprised me. I expected him to be a lot before I even got to the game. I was expecting him to be a lot taller and more filled out. He's not. He's just a regular guy, but he's got natural arm talent, and it just jumps off the film. He consistently generates velocity. It doesn't even look like he's straining or even hustling to throw. It got a big arm, could throw deep, even against tight coverage. He did show some impressive touch layering on certain passes. It can throw it between windows, especially short windows. He does create throwing lanes under pressure, and he's a great runner. He's an exceptional runner. And he's one of those like Jacoby Brissett where while he's scrambling out of the pocket, he's still looking downfield. And that's the kind of runner he is.
Yeah, I know before the season started and everything, we heard about this. It's going to be a phenomenal 2026 draft class at the quarterback position and all these studs and stars and everything. Well, now it turns out it's a super weak class with really only one guy really worth anything, and that's Fernando Mendoza. But Garrett Nussmeier was a part of that group of guys that was supposed to be in this first round and everything. And then the season didn't go so well for him. And it was the oblique injury really got to him and took his season on a downward turn. And it looked like, because I watched the Senior Bowl over the weekend, and it was like, okay, Garrett Nussmeier's healthy. You can tell he's back, and he looks, I'm not saying you would take him in the first round like he was being projected before the season, but he looks better than what he did when he was injured. You can tell like the injury definitely hampered him.
Yeah. And before the Senior Bowl, they even doubted that he'd be ready for that, but he was.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of surprised everybody that he showed up for the game. Not only did he show up, but he was definitely the obvious best quarterback in camp. They have 6 quarterbacks, 3 for each roster. And then, like I said, he ended up being the game's MVP. So, and he comes from a long football heritage. His dad's something with the Saints.
Yeah. I forget. Coach. Yeah, something like that for the Saints.
Yeah.
Garrett Nussmeier is a guy that whether you like him, don't like him, he's going to get drafted. What do you think? Third round?
Third round.
Somebody's going to take him. He'll be a backup, and due to injury or something, he'll end up playing this year. I guarantee you're going to see Garrett Nussmeier start at least one game in 2026, and then whether that translates to a longer career as a starter for him or not, we'll see. But I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, his playing abilities kind of reminded me of Mac Jones.
Okay, that's fair. So then I've got a couple requests from people that knew I was talking to you today. And one guy they just wanted me to ask you about because he was there, and I'm sure you saw him, was Taylon Green. Now, I'll just tell you straight up, not super impressed with Taylon Green from what I saw in the game anyway on the Senior Bowl. But what did you take away from Taylon Green down there?
Huge guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge guy. At media day was the first time that I talked to him. I couldn't believe that he wasn't a basketball player. He looked just like one. And, but he's got exceptional run abilities. I can tell that he might be the game's leading rusher if you let him be. But he's not an accurate thrower. Not at all. He's 229 pounds. He can run like a gazelle. And he will. He goes, if he doesn't go through his whole progressions, he may get to his second progression before he takes off. So he's one of those kind of guys. Tim Tebow was that way. Your first progression is covered. Maybe you can see the second one, then I'm taking off. And that works in college. It's not going to work in the NFL. It does for Lamar Jackson. It did for Fran Tarkenton, Randall Cunningham. There are people that made a living out of running and scrambling. I would like to see him. I think if he went into the NFL and was taken in the 3rd, 4th round, and they put him in the receiver room, he'd shine. He'd absolutely shine. But I think he's going to force the quarterback. Now, Lamar Jackson was that way. They wanted him to be a running back, and that's still a joke today. I got that. He still wants to be a quarterback, but he's not accurate.
Well,
he does have good downfield vision, but he's just not accurate. His mechanics just break down under pressure.
We do this thing where we talk about guys like, well, Josh Allen this or Lamar Jackson that. Those guys are outliers for a reason. So when you find, I remind myself all the time, if I'm comparing somebody to like, well, Lamar Jackson, I need to stop because he's a one of one. And I think a Taylon Green almost reminds me more of like a Terrell Pryor. As soon as you say put him in the receiver room and he's going to shine, but he's just not that great at actually being a quarterback. That's Terrell Pryor to me because, I mean, the dude athletically, Insane athlete. One of the best I've ever watched. Just
and
he was at the wrong position.
A long NFL career and didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
So
right,
that was my impression of Taylor Green.
And then, did you want to say anything about Cole Payton?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Coming into the game, I really didn't know much about Cole Payton. I didn't know what his. I knew he was from North Dakota State, which North Dakota State, I think, has won like 18 national championships in their history. They won it. They were in the playoffs this year. They only lost one game. They won the national championship last year, the year before. But I think Cole Payton, his best aspect of his game is running. He had 700-800 yards rushing this year. He's going to do that. Now, his completion percentage is pretty high. It was 72% this year. He led the conference. And, of course, we're talking about a level that people say, well, it doesn't translate to the NFL because it's lower level. Yeah, I got that. If you're playing at Vanderbilt, you're still playing the SEC, but it's a different level. I think he's a runner first, but he still can throw that ball downfield. He was a nice kid. He had a good interview with him, but I think he's kind of limited overall as far as making his season as a full-time starter. I think he's going to be a 5th, 6th round pick. He might have been a 6th, 7th rounder coming in the Senior Bowl. He may be in the 5th. He's going to be a project. He is able to deliver some accurate on-time throws, but that's usually on the move. He is constantly leaving the pocket. I think that's one of his negatives. That's that he's just kind of jumpy in the pocket. He wants to leave it. He wants to run. He wants to look to throw downfield while he's on the move. But I think the Senior Bowl might elevate him into a 5th round pick. Somebody will take him and stash him on their roster and let him develop for at least a year, if not 2, and see how he progresses in the throwing department, because he's got the running department down. He's another guy. If they converted it to a receiver, he knows how to do that. He knows how to run in the field. He knows how to juke and jostle, and he's good of yards after contact. He's good at all that. But he just needs throwing issues, and he needs to have some development there.
It seems like over these last however many years it's been now, where the NFL has been in this transition mode of going from these more, statuesque pocket quarterback, passing only type players to the more athletic, mobile, can run, can pick up things with their legs, that excel in college football. There's been that transition, and I feel like teams have made mistakes. You saw, and we're talking Cole Payton from North Dakota State, Trey Lance. We saw that mistake. We saw the mistake the Colts made with a guy like Anthony Richardson, which would be like I feel like the NFL is getting a little smarter about how to, put evaluation on certain traits from these quarterbacks, because like a Taylor Green, nobody's jumping at him, or like last year, Jalen Milroe didn't go till the end of the 3rd round, all that kind of stuff. So I think they're starting to understand that just because they have these insane athletic abilities doesn't necessarily make them a good quarterback at the NFL level.
Absolutely. All the above.
Cool. Great. Well, I know that was a lot of prospects to go through. Were there any last names that you wanted to hit before we moved into your idiom for the day?
Yeah, no, I think that was it, Josh. I think that pretty much said everything I wanted to say and get to everything.
Okay. Well, then what's the idiom you have on tap for us today?
I'm going to tell you where the origin of the term pancake came from.
Okay.
Now, we know a pancake is where an offensive lineman engages with a guy, throws him to the ground, and the offensive lineman ends up falling on top of the defender. That's called a pancake. It is a offensive statistic now. It's used to determine which offensive linemen are good blockers. It's a hard block. Now, where this came from was prior to the 1985 NFL draft. There was a group of University of Pittsburgh publicists that coined this phrase because they had guys that were coming out that did this block quite a bit, and they realized that, there are no stats for offensive linemen. They had an offensive guard coming out named Bill Fralick, and he was dominant, and they wanted to push him. They wanted to let people know what he was doing and how fierce and ferocious he was as an offensive lineman. But there are no stats other than you saying he's a good guard. He can do this. He can do that. So University of Pittsburgh, which is where Fralick was playing, publicists, they coined this phrase to provide a statistical gauge for a dominant offensive lineman.
Interesting. Yeah, I never knew where that came from. That's pretty cool.
Well, Josh, I enjoyed my time.
I did too, Barry. It's always fun having you on the show. I appreciate, you go down to the Senior Bowl every year. You know what you're doing. You know what you're looking for, and you do great work. You've brought some fantastic prospect names to this show over the years, whether the Browns have drafted them or not. They've made an impact at the NFL level, so it's really great to get your insight. I guess one last thing, if you got a couple minutes, real quick, what is your opinion on Todd Monken and this new head coaching endeavor, the new era that the Browns are going into?
Well, he had his first press conference yesterday, and I've got an article up right now on Dogs by Nature. I took 10 points of his press conference yesterday, and I just highlighted he's a big family guy. I don't think people know now. A couple of days ago on Dogs by Nature, I did a full profile of his coaching career, his family life, from when he came, all those years of coaching. That's up. So, and I did a deep dive, an absolutely deep dive on his life. Everything you need to know about Todd Monken is on that on Dogs by Nature. His dad, Bob Monken, was a high school coach for 30 years. He's got uncles that were coaches. Monken's two brothers are both high school coaches in the state of Illinois. He's got a nephew that is the head coach at Army right now. So in all, 14 men in the Monken family have been coaches. Now, as far as Todd Monken goes, except for when he was the Browns OC in 2019 under Freddie Kitchens, you take out that year, you look at everywhere that Monken has been as an offensive coach, he was head coach at Southern Miss for 3 years. Everywhere that he has been, the offense has been transformed. Everywhere. Every time.
We need that. We need that very badly. So that's good to hear you say. And I was not, everybody who watched the show knows, I wasn't like thrilled about it. Obviously, when the news first came out, I kind of had my sights set on some other candidates. But then once everything settled and I digested it and went and researched Todd Monken and where he's been, what he's done, it's like, okay, I have optimism for what he'll be able to come in here and do with this offense. Now, as a head coach at the NFL level, we're hoping that it works out because we don't know. He's never done it before. But offensively, the dude definitely has proven that he can take, like you said, and elevate an offense.
Yeah, when he got hired as the OC at Oklahoma State years ago, they were ranked number 43 in offense. His first year, Oklahoma State was ranked number 2.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
They averaged 48.7 points a game and 545.8 yards in total offense. His first year. His second year, they were ranked number 3 in offense. That's just 2 years.
Did he not coach Brandon Whedon?
Yeah, he did. He did.
Okay.
He absolutely did. Then he took a Southern Miss team that had gone 0-12, and in 3 years, they were 9-5 and in a bowl game and ranked number 20 in the nation in offense. Then he went to Jacksonville and promoted them. He went to Tampa Bay. In his first year with Tampa Bay, they were number 18 in offense. The second year, they were number 9. The third year, they were ranked number 3. This has happened over and over and over. When he went to, now, like I said, he didn't, when he did the Browns, and the reason behind that, he came up with a game plan, and then in the game, Freddie Kitchens would call something completely different. He didn't even use the game plan. And he almost made Todd Monken just like he wasn't even a part of it. Then he goes to the Georgia Bulldogs. He takes a Georgia Bulldog team that hadn't been relevant in like 5 decades, and he completely transformed them. When he arrived, Georgia was number 49 in total defense. Total offense. 49. In his first year, they were number 9 in total offense.
Whew, what a jump. All right, well, that's encouraging information and stats there about Todd Monken. And I still try to remind me, got to be patient here this first year because, again, the offensive pieces for the Browns, and it's still not that great. Obviously, that's why we did this whole show talking about offensive line and wide receivers primarily on that side of the ball. We need to get some players in here, but it will be interesting to see what the jump is in his first year and then from his first year to his second year. I feel like historically that's where the big jumps have come for Todd Monken offenses.
His honey-do list for the offense is huge. It's page after page after page. But this is a guy that it has a history of transforming offenses into something elite. Jacksonville Jaguars, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Southern Miss, LSU, Georgia. They won 2 national championships back to back. They haven't been relevant since he left. You ask any University of Georgia Bulldog fan about Todd Monken, and they'll start breaking down in tears and asking him to come back. That's what I think about Todd Monken. His job is to take the offense, and he's a surgeon at that.
Well, that's great news because I want to get excited for this season coming up. I also need to temper my expectations based on the players that we have to work with. But here we go. We're heading into free agency next month, and then we'll be heading into the draft just the month after that. So, Barry, thank you for coming in here, breaking down these Senior Bowl prospects again like you do every year. Again, if you guys want to follow Barry, head to dogsbynature.com. Check out his articles over there, all his work. I mean, Barry is thorough. When he says he did a deep dive on Todd Monken, it's about the deepest of deep that you can imagine. Barry will give you everything you could possibly want to know about Todd Monken. So you do such a great job being thorough and giving everybody as much information as possible. So it's great. And then also follow him on Twitter and everywhere else that you can find him.
All right. Well, I enjoyed my time, and thank you for the kind words there, Josh. Had a good time, and everybody stay warm.
We're going to try our best, Barry. Thanks. We'll talk again soon. Okay, again, thank you to Mr. Barry Shuck for coming on this podcast every year, breaking down Senior Bowl prospects. Barry is just such a great resource in the industry for this stuff. He's smart, he's thorough, he knows what he's looking for, and he's doing it specifically, like I said at the beginning of the last episode, for the Browns. He's not looking at it from a fantasy perspective. He's not looking at it from an overall NFL landscape. He's looking at the Senior Bowl and these prospects specifically for the Browns. So that was great. The defensive side of the ball, man, sounds like, let me know in the comments what you guys think. I kept saying during the show, but he's selling me on picking a defensive player maybe in the second round, which I've been so against, just based on how depleted and weak and pathetic the offensive side of the ball looks. But again, free agency could change that. And I'm with Barry. A guy like Chris Johnson at cornerback could be the answer in the second round because you're getting a plug-and-play day one starter in the second round at a position where you can never have enough of those kind of guys. And they're not easy to find either, really, at the cornerback position. So just trying to keep an open mind when we go through these prospects. I got more breakdowns and stuff coming I'm starting to work on my wide receiver show on that content. I'm going to do several wide receiver episodes, but the first one is about ready to go. So I'll record that for you guys here soon. And again, jointhedogs.com if you want to be part of the Discord community, be part of the dog pack, hang out with us, talk to everybody in there. It's a great place to be, and it's also a great way to support the show and help us out as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. Again, comment what you think about my conversations with Barry Shuck, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Let's go Brown.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at The Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is sponsored by Butcher Box for Pets. Browns fans, we love our fellow dogs, our dog pack members, and the Dog Pound faithful, but let's not kid ourselves. The most important dogs in our lives are, well, our dogs. Your furry friends aren't just pets, they're part of the family. But the question is, what are you actually feeding them? Head to butcherbox4pets.com/products to see all the options for your dogs, including fresh and dry foods, treats, meal toppers, and even toys for your dog. If you're not sure what your dog will like best, try the Premium Nutrition Adult Starter Pack, and they even have a vacation bundle to take care of your four-legged friends while you're on vacation this summer. And right now you can get 20% off your order with promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. At ButcherBox, they believe in real ingredients. Their pet foods have been developed and certified by vet nutritionists to contain zero artificial flavors or preservatives. You get protein-packed formula with over 50% of the recipe comprised of third-party certified humane ButcherBox meat, plus functional ingredients like pre- and postbiotics to support your dog's vitality and digestion. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line is your dogs are getting the nutrition and the value they need, and honestly, that they deserve. I know our home wouldn't be the same without Odie, our 100-pound golden retriever who thinks he's a 10-pound lap dog. He is not, but it gives us peace of mind knowing that we're giving him quality food instead of just that factory processed garbage from the store. And speaking of the store, no need to go. ButcherBox for Pets delivers their high-quality food right to your door. So head to butcherboxforpets.com/products and use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 20% off your order. It's time for us dogs to give our dogs the nutrition they deserve.
If you're the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, you know having a trusted partner makes all the difference. That's why, hands down, you count on Grainger for auto reordering. With on-time restocks, your team will have the cut-resistant gloves they need at the start of their shift. And you can end your day knowing they've got safety well in hand. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.